Thanks for joining our tips and tricks part 1 of 3. I'm Angelo Sasha from NetX Information Systems. This webinar is being sponsored by Altris Solutions. On with me today from NetX is also our VP of Technical Operations, Antoine Grey. Antoine will be the gentleman going through the actual demonstration for the 5 subjects that we're going to cover today. So we are going to try to keep this as demo focused as possible. We're going to keep the slide decks pretty low here. The point of this webinar is actually to be instructional. We don't want it to be an overly salesy presentation. We really want it to be informative for existing Altiris customers. NetX has been an engineering company and training company for many years, so a lot of the content that we are going to be showing you today is actually developed from real-world experience from our engineers and from our instructors. So we'll go over about us for both NetX and Altrinsic. Then we'll do a brief overview of the 5 subjects that we're going to cover, and then we'll do a live demo of each one of those subjects, and then we'll hand it off to the folks over at Altrinsic so that they can teach you guys a little bit more about their Deploy Expert product. So, as I said, we've been an engineering and training company for many years. Myself and Antoine have been working with Altiris for over 12 years as customers, and then as field engineers, and then our respective roles within service delivery and training and OEM development. We've been an Altiris partner since 2003, so that's legacy Altiris before Symantec actually purchased them. And then since Symantec has purchased Altiris, we've then ventured into other Symantec products as well. But still at our core, we're an Altiris partner, and the majority of our engineers and our skill set, and specifically the folks on the phone today, we're all focused around the Altiris product set. Our guys have over 50 technical accreditations, so that makes it actually 3rd out of 500 partners. And again, that's a testament to us being an engineering company first, over being a reseller of the Altiris and other Symantec products. So besides just selling you guys software and being able to work with your renewals, we really work with our customers in pre-sales activities, and those sometimes can be POCs, but other times those can just be really teaching you guys the benefits of the products, and that really stems from our education practice and our services practice. Everyone within the organization at some point in time came through field services, right? So that's where we start talking about our service delivery team. And then we've been able to really get a deeper understanding of the platform because we've developed our own OEM products for within the Symantec Management Platform, which is our NetX appliance, which some of you may have heard about. And that's basically a drop-ship, turnkey management platform and all the ITMS solutions in a box. I like to call it a cable TV box. You get what you pay for. And you'll see when you speak to Antoine and he goes through his presentation that we've also been a training partner for quite a while. So the material that you're looking at today, while some of it is covered in our training, other collateral that we're going to show you is really based on feedback we get from some of our students in our class saying, hey, it'd be great if we knew a little bit more about X or Y. So we're trying to take all of these things that we get for feedback and trying to create a 3-part series for folks like you guys to attend, trying to do it on an every month basis so that it doesn't get very stale. One of the things that we'll go over today is simplifying some of the most difficult parts of your image deployment, which is managing your hardware-independent image. The reason why we chose to work with Altrinsic on this is because they really have got a great product that ties back into the Symantec Management Platform, and that's their Deploy Expert product. It really takes a very complex thing, which is managing hardware-independent images and drivers, and really simplifies it so that you can focus more on the process of delivering your image and applications rather than managing your drivers. We've all been there from either a customer perspective or a field engineer perspective, saying they're trying to develop a hardware-independent image, and then all of a sudden you've got one that works on one Dell GX270, and then you plug it into the next one, and then all of a sudden you've got some sort of blue screen or driver compatibility issue. And they've got some great products around really simplifying that. And Rachel from Altrinsic will be speaking about that towards the latter end of this presentation. So the 5 subjects that we are going to cover today are really kind of broad. We wanted to try to take a little bit from each of the different components within the platform and try not to make it too much about a specific solution. Since the core of it all is the Symantec Management Platform, we really wanted to focus on common products within that platform. And at the core, doing things like customizing the app pools to increase performance is going to benefit everybody. Reporting and showing you guys how to create some really graphical, feature-rich looking reports at IT Analytics is something that we hear we think, and we hear from a lot of our customers, and everyone thinks it's a simple thing, but there's some tools built right into the platform that a lot of customers just don't have the time to take advantage of, or maybe just need a little bit of guidance in that. So we wanted to show you a little bit of that, and then we want to start getting into the actual using of the solutions within the Symantec Management Platform. In this case, we're going to work with software management, and we're going to teach you guys how to leverage inventory data and software management to really control your software deployment. So that's taking 2 solutions and making them work in a single process. And then Antoine's going to show you guys how customizing WinPE can help you troubleshoot imaging issues, especially when calling tech support. It'd be nice if you guys can figure out a way to go through some of your common troubleshooting steps without needing to sit there for 4 hours talking to tech support just to get through a common troubleshooting task. And then again, we'll hand it off to Altrinsic Solutions to kind of work through that hardware-dependent imaging and really navigating that mess. Once the presentation is over, we're going to have a short survey. It's just 5 questions that's going to be presented to you guys, and really it's for feedback on this webinar. We'd like that feedback so that we can make sure that A, we hit the mark on this one, and B, you guys get the opportunity to submit some general questions for the next one, so that if there's a particular subject or subjects that we see come in by a handful of you guys, we can cover them on the next part 2 of the webinar. So for completing that survey and making sure that we have a better content for you for part 2, that's going to automatically enter you to win an iPad, and we'll kick off the part 2 of the webinars of the webinar series, announcing the winner of that iPad. So with that, I'm going to hand the presentation over to Antoine Grey. Antoine will go through and start demonstrating the 5 subjects that we just spoke about here.
Thank you, Angelo, and welcome to everyone. As soon as I am able here, I will go ahead and show my screen, and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. So the first point, as Angelo mentioned, is we want to discuss is how to improve performance of the Symantec Management Platform. And one of the simplest things that we have available to us is the creation of custom app pools. You should see right now a slide that basically explains app pools. This is just kind of a general overview to help bring my point home. But with application pools, we basically have the ability to, by separating applications out into their own application pools, we have the ability to go ahead and improve server and application performance. We also have the ability to improve application availability. So if one portion of a web site crashes, whether it's the Symantec Management Platform or any other type of web-based application, it's not going to bring down the entire in the entire app, just that particular component, as well as we have the ability to improve security by isolating applications. You can go ahead and then specify specific credentials for specific app pools. For more information around application pools, notice we're not making this up. We're grabbing it right from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So you can go out to the Microsoft website and dig deeper into application pools. Okay. In order to configure application pools, custom application pool within the Symantec Management Platform, you can go either one of two routes, either by running a script against the command prompt or in the command prompt that will go ahead and create the application pools for you, and as well as move the applications into those application pools, or go in and manually right-click, create each individual application pool, set it to whether it's going to be a classic application pool mode or integrated application pool mode. Notice these all are going to be classic, and then go ahead and manually move those applications over as well. You can find the script at this website down below. This is actually a Connect article, so we're again it's publicly available. It's just many customers are not aware that this can actually be done and actually be supported by the manufacturer. One point to note, with the NetX appliance that Angela mentioned, we've actually been implementing custom application pools for several years. So it's in the field, it's been tested. Hundreds of customers are running this particular configuration, and this does allow you to bring more performance back to the console, especially in a scenario where you have hundreds and hundreds or even thousands of agents out there reporting to your management platform. So with that, I'll go ahead and pop into the console. Give me just a second here. Okay, so I've already launched my IIS Manager within my Symantec Management Platform and navigated to the application pools. You'll notice that I have some application pools here already that I already have applications, and a couple of integrated, and this actually has the NetX appliance interface. So there's the application pool for that, as well as the standard Symantec application pools, and a couple of others that have been created. And I set this particular scenario up so that you can see that we can run a script to create additional application pools and move those apps into those pools without having to worry about destroying what we have available already. So I'll just go ahead and open the command prompt, and I have the command on my keyboard, the script on my clipboard already, so I'll just go ahead and paste it in and allow that to run. It takes just a couple of seconds. I'll go ahead and minimize that, and then I'll refresh the screen. You'll notice now that I have additional application pools that have been created. At this point, in order to fully implement the custom application pools, I would just simply run IIS reset. Or reboot my server, and then enjoy the performance gains that come from this. So again, really quick, really useful component that will allow us to be able to gain more performance back to our console so that we can get in and work. The next item we'll talk about here is how to create custom reports using IT Analytics Reports Builder. Okay, so I'll go ahead and launch my console. And again, I've taken the liberty of bringing up specific areas within the console where I want to actually start. So within the Symantec Management Platform, within the console itself, if you have loaded the IT Analytics component, you can actually navigate to Settings, Notification Server, and IT Analytics settings, and that will bring you into this area. From there, we'll go ahead and click the button to launch our report builder, and that will bring up a tool that looks very similar to this. Okay. It may be version 2 or version 3, depending on which version of SQL you have installed. So what I'm going to do for you today is I'm going to simply create a chart or a dashboard. I'm going to add that dashboard into the console. So all of the reports that are created in IT Analytics actually live within your SQL reporting server. So I've again taken the liberty of going to the URL, and in your particular environment, we would just simply go to the name of your SQL Server /reports, and from there you will find your IT Analytics folder and all the reports that are built into IT Analytics or any that you may have created. So I can actually run a report right from here. So here's a hint or a secret. If you are experiencing console performance issues and you are waiting on change control in order to get custom app pools implemented, go right to your SQL reporting server, go to the reporting folder, IT Analytics, and you can go ahead and run those reports right from there. So that's just a kind of a way to get around it. But we're going to go ahead and publish or create a dashboard, publish it in here, and then bring it into the console. So we'll show you how that actually works. So again, what I did is I clicked on Launch Report Builder, brought up my report builder here, and I'll go ahead and I'll double click on chart. Now once I double click on chart, it's going to show me my data source. At this point I can go ahead and click on next, and it allows me to see the different types of cubes that I've brought in. So again, if you are familiar with IT Analytics, you may be aware that IT Analytics runs off a series of cubes, which is basically the SQL Analytics component, and that basically then allows you to slice and dice your information. So if you're familiar with writing reports within Excel, creating pivot tables, creating charts, you're halfway there. I'm just going to give you the other components that you need in order to be successful. So we'll go ahead and create a report around patch management, or excuse me, a dashboard around patch management. I'll go ahead and click OK. And a couple of things we want to ensure that we have. One would be the measurements. Give me my numbers. Right, so I'm going to go and I'm going to take a look at my patch vulnerabilities, and I'm going to look at vulnerable computer counts. I'm just going to drag it over, so I have a total of 9. Right, this is small demo environment. You're not going to have thousands of machines here. Then I want to grab my update. So basically, this particular chart is going to show me my count of computers by severity, update severity. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that and drag it over into the window as well. So now you'll notice that I have critical, important, low, moderate, unclassified, and some numbers next to them. Okay. So what I'll do now is go ahead and click on next, and I'm going to choose the type of report that I want to create. I'm going to create a pie chart, and at this point I'm going to go ahead now and set up my series. So my series is going to basically list by severity, and my values here then will be my numbers, my count. I'll click next once again. Okay. Now I have the makings of my chart, and I go ahead and choose my beautiful color schemes. I'll go with generic, and then I'll go ahead and click finish. At this point, I have the ability to go ahead now and add in some additional information, customizations rather. I can pretty this thing up if I want to. I'll go ahead and give it a title, and we're going to go ahead and call this software update dashboard. How about that? Okay, because we're creating a dashboard, and I'm going to go ahead and change my chart title as well. So let's get my mouse to behave. There we go. So I'll go to my title properties, and this will be vulnerable computer count by severity. Let's make sure I spell that correctly. Okay, and as well as what I want to do is, and you'll notice where I have my my title positions at the top. I can go ahead and move that around using this guy here if I'd like to. I'll go ahead and just click OK there, and I'm going to go ahead and take a look at my legend properties now. Okay, so I can go ahead and make any changes that I feel necessary to my legend properties. I'll go ahead and change the position, and I can go ahead and add a border. I can also, let's see, let's give it a shadow box. All right, let's make it look a little fancy. Okay. All right, so I add a little shadow box there. Now at this point, I go ahead and run it so I can make sure that it suits my needs. Okay, so good enough for the demonstration. I'll go ahead now and I'll save this, and I'm going to save it into my IT Analytics folders with all of my other reports here. So I'm going to call this, let's be consistent in our naming, software update dashboard. Okay, and I'll click save. Now what I've just done, I'll leave this up and just, well, I won't close it, I'll just minimize that. what I've done now is I've created my report and I've sent it over to my SQL server. It's sitting in the IT Analytics report URL. Now, how do I get that into my console? So I come now to my reporting section within my Symantec Management Platform. You notice I have some dashboards here already. Okay, some of the default dashboards. I'm just going to go ahead and right-click Dashboard. So I'm going to say New IT Analytics Report. Okay. And give that a moment to pop up there. There we go. All right, so the type is going to be a dashboard. I only have one IT Analytics folder name, and now I'll go ahead and find the report that I created, Software Update Dashboard. Okay, and I'll leave the other at default, and I'll go ahead and click Add Report. Okay, and the report is added successfully. I'll go ahead and refresh. And we'll expand our dashboards again, and I should have Software Update Dashboard there, and there's my dashboard. Now I can get well, I misspelled computer, so please excuse me, but I can get as fancy as I like, but you know, again, just to give the idea, I can go ahead and create my reports within, or my dashboards within the reporting tool, and add them into my console. I can also run these same reports outside of the console. So you know, again, if I am experiencing some of those performance issues, I can kind of get around them. Okay. So the next item we will take a look at is leveraging inventory data for creating managed software deployments. Now, many of you may have already gone through this particular process. If anyone on the call is you know, has been a customer since the 6.0 days, you may remember having to create collections, adding machines to the collections, and then target them with software and things of that nature. What's available to us now, though, is the ability to create these detection rules, and that's basically what we're going to do here. So I've already gone through the process of bringing in a .NET framework 4 application, and I've set up my detection rule. Now my detection rule basically is going to go out and look at the machine to look for a particular registry key. Now this is great when we are going through migrations or you know, software deployments, and we don't want to have to babysit this thing. I want to basically set it and forget it, the purpose of the Symantec Management Platform. So this certainly helps me set it and forget it. So I'll go ahead and right click on my my tool here, or excuse me, on my application here. I go to Actions, and I want to edit this resource, and I'm going to show you where I set this up and show you exactly what we're looking for. Now we have a machine down here that's a VM that we're going to launch and look at the other side of this process as well. So I'll just go ahead and navigate over to Rules, and I'll click on the pencil to edit my rule. And basically what I did here is I added my registry key that I'm looking for. Okay, just went out to the Microsoft site or Google to find out how can I tell whether .NET Framework 4 has been installed or not, and there we go. Okay, so I'm using that particular rule. I'll go ahead and close this up. Okay, now from here, once I've brought in my application, I just simply go down, I select Action, and I'll go ahead and click Manage Software Delivery. Right, that then creates a policy for me. So I have my policy available. Okay, and in this particular policy, it's going to show the rule that I'm actually going to use to detect to see if that piece of software has been installed. The command line that I'm using to install this, so I'm actually doing some logging as well for that. And command lines for .NET can be found on the Microsoft website or all over Google. The resource that I'm going to apply this to, but where does the magic actually happen? The magic happens on the scheduled menu item. So when do I want to check for the compliance? When do I want the policy to actually look at the machine to see if that registry key exists? In this particular example, whenever the user logs on, every time the user logs on, it's going to check to see if it's there. If it's not there, then it's going to go ahead and remediate. And I can go ahead and remediate on a particular schedule. In this particular case, I say go ahead and remediate immediately. I can go ahead and set it at the schedule, next maintenance window, etc. Okay. This has already been applied to my machine, again, for the sake of time, so I'm going to go ahead and flip over to my machine. And you'll notice that I have this rule already sitting there. It has not triggered yet, so it shows that it's unknown or not started. So basically the process is going to go through, detect to see if that registry key is there. If I did not make any typos, it should not find that particular registry key. Then it's going to go ahead and download the package and then run the install. Now we won't sit and watch it go through the entire install, but I am going to go ahead and close the agent on the client machine, and I'll go ahead and log out, and then I'll log back in. Okay. Okay. So now that I've logged back into the machine, let's go ahead and open my agent. Okay. So notice now for this particular policy, the detection rule shows that the registry key had not been detected. It's now in the process of downloading the .NET framework installation file from either my site server, or in this particular case is a single server environment, and then it'll go ahead and start the install of that particular application. So now we can, again, we use an inventory to basically force a particular application to be installed into your environment. Or again, if you're going through a migration and things of that nature, you can take a lot of the administrative overhead off of yourselves, or as well as off of the IT department, by going through setting up your detection rules or applicability rules. The other side of that may say this particular version of .NET Framework can only install if something else exists on the machine, or if it's a 64-bit 64-bit CPU, etc. Okay, so the possibilities are pretty endless. Okay, so now we'll move on to one of my favorites. It's customizing WinPE for troubleshooting imaging. Okay, so give me just a quick second. I want to bring back up my slide here. Okay, so there is an article in Symantec Knowledge Base of how to customize WinPE, and this is customizing WinPE that is distributed via the by either Pixie or the automation folder directly from the notification server or the Symantec Management Platform. What I've done in this particular example is I've gone into BootWiz, that wonderful tool that was held over from the DS69 days, which again was a tool that I really enjoyed. And I customized that because what it gives me the ability to do is to create an ISO. If I'm a technician and I want to have some items in my toolkit, I can burn this to a thumb drive, what have you, and I can be pretty mobile with it. Okay. So basically, I just launched BootWiz. That other stuff out of the, there we go. Okay. And from within BootWiz, I'll just go directly to the interface because I've already created this. Let's get that out of the way. So I created this web demo. And what I did is I added a folder under the WinPE additional tools, and I added BGInfo. I added a menu program, and this is the exact name. So if you wanted to Google this particular tool to kind of set something up very similar, you can. In that knowledge base article that I saw, that I showed you, there's the engineers use a different menu tool. I just thought this one would be more fitting. It also allows you to customize the XML file to pop up whatever you'd like to have show on the menu, as well as a log viewer. Again, an open source tool. How do I get this to kick off? Well, within each of the configurations with the WinPE, you have this startup.bat. Now this is really cool because now I basically just path out to my executable. When your machine boots to WinPE, its system drive is basically going to be the X drive. So all of this stuff here is going to reside in X drive. Some other notes you might want to scribble down is I can also add the Ghost executable in here and be able to kick off Ghost from my thumb drive and things of that nature as well, which we've done here at NetX in the past as part of our recovery tools for our appliance. So once I've gone through that, I then go ahead and allow it to create my my ISO. Okay. So by doing so, I can go ahead and just say create boot disk and then walk through the prompts and I'm all set. So what I did once I created my ISO, I just went on and mounted it to this VM. So let me just open this console completely here, and I'll go ahead and start. Okay. So this is booting directly to WinPE, and we won't go through all of the tools, but I want to point out how I can then take advantage of the tools that have been placed in here. From I can go ahead and point out how I can take advantage of the tools that have been placed within my menu. Now, at this particular point, it's going to go through the standard boot process. Okay, so give that a moment. This should all look pretty familiar. Okay. And then once this finished loading, I'll just go ahead and minimize it, and we'll explore the actual start menu. A couple of things that you can also add that I did not. PC Anywhere has a PC Anywhere thin client, so if you wanted to embed PC Anywhere into WinPE, you could do so. And what that does then is allows you to remote an imaging machine from the console, especially, and this works very well if there, you know, hundreds of miles between you and the machine that you're attempting to image, or you're attempting to resolve an issue with tech support. So you'll notice now that the startup bat has completed. I have my start menu down below. A couple of things that I did here is I put the host name right at the top of the menu. How often has it been that you needed to find this particular machine in the console when it booted to WinPE and couldn't actually find it? System information here is my BG info. So you notice here it just shows up on the background. We could have gone through and did a lot of other fancy things with it, but just to get my point home, just some basic information. You know, so I know which servers this guy booted to, the IP address, again, the all-important host name, its MAC address, etc. And one piece that actually leads us into the next discussion is I've added this part. Now, I'll go ahead and bring back my slide deck, okay, and talk about imaging issues. Okay, so solving some of the common hardware-independent imaging issues. One is especially if I receive my machines from my manufacturer preloaded, there may be a number of partitions on that particular hard drive. So NetX recommends that you do not use your vendor's build to create your hardware-independent image. One of the things you could do once you boot your machine, boot it to your troubleshooting WinPE, and you can go ahead and run this part and things of that nature to go ahead and clean off those OEM partitions, the 100 meg of system reserve partitions, etc. And the reason why we want to do this is because in the boot environment, the pre-boot environment, many times some of you may have already experienced when you boot your machines and you attempt to image, your imaging process actually fails. And why is this? Well, it's because you have these other partitions there, and the agent is not aware of where or of how to find itself, basically, so they can report back to the server to say, go ahead and kick off my imaging job. So in order to clean up your hard disk, and notice my reference down below, right here, and our engineers use this quite often. Very, very effective. You know, it allows them to go from 0 to 60 a lot faster than, you know, trying to troubleshoot and figure out why those other partitions are hindering the imaging process. But basically, use this process. Go ahead and select, list your disks, select them, clean it, create your new partition, set it active. Go ahead and format it. Then you can exit this part, load your operating system, and then use that for capturing your image or capturing your gold image. Okay. Again, the reference article is down below. Okay. So now that we've talked about one of the major issues, which is the actual disk configuration, and just to bring another real world point in, some of the laptops that we've had to attempt to image remotely before, they ship with multiple OEM partitions, and we could not figure out why imaging was failing. But as soon as we went through this process and cleaned the disk and built the OS from scratch, we had no issue. So we went from 100% failure rate to 100% success on that particular go around. So this definitely works, again, real world. So now that we've talked about the configuration of the machine and just getting to the point where we can actually capture an image, now we want to, again, minimize the administrative overhead. We don't want to have to manage multiple images. If we have 10 different hardware platforms in our environment, we don't want to have 10 different images. That's 10 different update schedules and things of that nature. So we want to attempt to move to a hardware independent image, but it does not come without its challenges. So some of those challenges would be, excuse me, I lost my, whoops. Some of those challenges would be model variations, the device driver issues, or just getting the software out for specific devices. So with us today is Rachel from Altrinsic Solution, who will be able to tell you more about how the Altrinsic Solutions can assist you in overcoming your hardware independent imaging headaches. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Rachel.
Thanks, Antoine. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So we have actually been around for quite a long time in the imaging industry, and our solutions have been used to deploy millions of desktops and laptops all over the world. Historically, our roots were actually in Altiris, and we were their original specialist platform integration partner. And back in the early days of consulting, we helped hundreds and hundreds of companies integrate Altiris. And what really happened is, after deploying images in all kinds of companies like Boeing and Disney and many, many others, we identified a key gap in deployment technology. So I'd like to take some time today to show you a little bit about what we found and why our solution is a fundamentally new approach to deployment automation technology that truly unlocks the power and potential of the SMP platform. So we were consistently seeing devices not working post-deployment. And after a while, we realized it was due to a technology gap that was organizationally expensive and really time-consuming. We call this the model myth. And it's basically this idea that each unique system within a model has identical devices on board. This myth is perpetuated by the way that we currently handle driver management processes in the industry, and the illusion that if you downloaded your model-based driver packs from your OEM, you'll have all the resources you need for all the systems identified as that specific model. But the reality is that a computer is not just a make and model, but a collection of unique hardware parts. And intermodal hardware diversity is, in actuality, a really common occurrence in real-world scenarios. So this device diversity can occur for a variety of reasons. Maybe the OEM changed the NIC they were using halfway through manufacturing, or possibly the sound card went out and was replaced on a system, or an end user could have chosen upgraded options for their system. There's tons of scenarios for why it might happen, but the reality of hardware diversity means that OEM driver packs are just not sufficient for zero-touch automation in deployment. So here you'll see our Deploy Expert console, and really what we do is start from a fundamentally different perspective in that we begin by extending the hardware inventory in the SMP and providing a comprehensive analysis of all the devices in the environment, which allows us to group these systems into what we call collections, and you can see them here, these sort of subsets of groupings, which are composed of systems with completely identical hardware configurations in every way. We call them classes, and really what they are is what we've always pretended that models are, meaning that since we know that each system within one specific class has the exact same devices as every other system within a class, if we can obtain the drivers for one of those systems, we in reality have all the driver resources we need for every other system in that class. So here you'll see our driver repository, and really once Deploy Expert reveals how many hardware configurations exist within the environment, we will automatically get the drivers needed to support each unique platform and hardware configuration through our harvesting functionality. And you can still add drivers from your OEM sites and other sources. And we dedupe the drivers for you, so we provide a really clean, easy-to-use, single-instance driver repository. And in the end, the result is that each system receives a custom resource package that includes the exact drivers the system needs and nothing more. And we can even slipstream specialized application packages to handle things like driver co-installers or other specialized hardware applications. And we'll give you policy controls, so you can make a quick rule that any systems with XYZ hardware get XYZ software. So you may be wondering how Deploy Expert really differs from Deploy Anywhere or other deployment tools in the industry. And when you come down to it, the key is in the automation. And the truth is that conceptually, many of the functions that Deploy Expert handles can be performed through manual processes. But comprehensively managing all of these manual processes is incredibly time-consuming and forces a single administrator to be the human glue holding this constantly evolving process together. So Deploy Expert automates all of these processes so that administrators can focus their time and energy on more important projects. And because we start by addressing the reality of this model myth that's out there with a full comprehensive analysis and what actual devices exist, and we automatically build their driver repository and create driver packs, the bulk of our clients see full return on investment in 90 days. And without Deploy Expert, what really happens is that deployment processes are evolving as a result of failed deployments. So I'd like to take a second to tell you a little bit about Sam, who's my very favorite client. And last year we ran into him at a conference, and he took some time to sit down with us and kind of take a look at his driver process before Deploy Expert and then after Deploy Expert. So hopefully looking at these, you can relate to some of these steps here. So he was using his models and creating folders and subdirectories for his drivers, downloading the drivers from the OEM site, creating the packages in his platform, and then finally distributing it to his deployment points. But then he's still not done. Then he's testing, still finding issues, refining the process, and then if he has new models come on board, he's repeating the entire process again. And even after all of that testing and refinement, he was still finding devices that were missed or driver compatibility issues and constantly responding to these processes and these problems. So after we went ahead and got him up and running with Deploy Expert, his driver management process now consists of 4 completely automated steps. So we come in, we regularly analyze his environment for him. Then we harvest drivers, which are all single instance mapped back to the devices. We create custom driver packs for him that are automatically integrated into his deployment job, and the updates automatically are made as they happen in his environment. So it really streamlined his entire process. And in the end, after we crunched some numbers, for Sam, he was saving 460 hours a year by adding on Deploy Expert into his process. And he's a smaller organization. Sam only has 500 nodes. So you can really imagine how this is multiplied in larger organizations. So we really hope to hear from you. Here's our website. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to Joyelle. Her contact information is there, and we'd love to hear from you. So I don't want to take too much of your time, and I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Angelo.
Great job, Rachel. Thank you very much, Rachel and Antoine. So, folks, for anyone that needs to get in touch with anyone here at NetX, our contact information on the screen. And just so you guys are aware, this was recorded, so if there's any part of the webinar that you missed or anything you wanted to re-listen to, it'll be available for download from our website, which is netx.com. It'll also be available on YouTube once we get it posted up there. And again, really important to get your feedback. At the very least, we'd like to continue to have subjects that are interested in you guys. So with that said, thank you everyone for your time today, and we look forward to seeing you. We look forward to seeing you come to our second part of this 3-part series. Thanks, everyone.